Hello and welcome back to the Kung Fu Book Review. Today we are going to be doing the Big Blue Book, as I like to call it. So the combat techniques of Tai Chi, Xing Yi and Bagua, so you get 3 in one book. Principles and practices of internal martial arts, of which there is a lot of principles in this book, which you know I'm a big fan of, by Lu Shengli. And it's translated by Zhang Yung, which is one of his students. Basically, my overall impression is this is an excellent book. It's an excellent resource for Chinese internal martial arts. It's a big book. You know, we're talking nearly 400 pages, 370 pages. Not much space of that is wasted, that's saying something, I think. So I don't know these guys directly, but they're two, so we've got an older Chinese master, so he's a resident mainlander, with a younger student / instructor who, obviously is fluent in Chinese, he's Chinese, and in Mandarin, but also can write excellently in English. So one of the lovely things about this book is that it's one of the best examples of the use of Chinese characters and the pinyin. So and the translations are deep and good because the author is Chinese, understands Chinese martial arts, and also can write well in English. So, and you get this wonderful way, which is that when the term is introduced in the text, it's often explained, but at the same time you get the character written out in modern simplified script, and also with the pinyin, correct with the pinyin, with the actual correct grammar structure, so that you can, he's got the accents on it. So if you're someone like me who is a sort of basic Mandarin speaker, you can actually know that, and you actually know how to read, right? So you're like, oh, that's xiao, as in small, right? Okay, xiao ju tian, right? So it's not just random words. I can actually read that and have a go at pronouncing it. So really, really great. Like, actually a good way that the Chinese is written and shown in this book. So I don't know about them personally as martial artists, but the wealth of knowledge and theory, as well as from what I can see in the stills of the movement quality and the way that he talks about Chinese internal martial arts, shows me that there is a depth of skill and knowledge here. It's a fantastic resource. So let's just go through and start breaking it down. Oh yeah, so just a little bit about them. Really, this is just the bio that I'll take from the book because I don't know the authors particularly well, but they've trained with a bunch of different teachers, and there's a wealth of knowledge across different styles because they've done Xing Yi, they've done a sort of a local family style of Tai Chi, like a Hao style Tai Chi, I think. So their Tai Chi is a bit funky, like especially if you've done. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit different to some of the other stuff that I've seen before. And then they've done one of the major sort of Yin styles of Bagua, which should be pretty familiar to most people. But then interestingly, and this is a real little martial arts gem, they've done 2 styles. One that is slightly more common now, which is Baji Tren, which I've done a little bit of which is this great sort of like, I'd say it's like internal / external, so it's got some pretty strong internal elements, but it's also quite external as well. And it's like this stompy, aggressive, lots of short elbows and really low, really punishing horse stance, like really good, really interesting style. And it's like Xing Yi in that it's really aggressive, so it's like a really aggressive internal style. Got tons of moves for beating on karate dudes because it was from northern China. So, and obviously the Japanese invaded up in northern China. So a lot of Baji guys, there are actual specific extra movements that have been added to take care of a guy doing like a Shotokan karate punch. So that's really cool bit of martial arts history about Baji. And then the really cool one is the one's called Tongbei Tren, which is like this white ape boxing or like long arm ape boxing. It's a little bit like Pak Mei in that like they have this like long hunched over posture and then like lots of like loose fist. I'd say that's like an external / internal. Like there's a few internal components to it, but it's pretty much an external martial arts style. But yeah, so they've done that stuff as well. So really interesting history. And I like with a lot of internal masters that actually have a background in external martial arts, is it keeps them real, keeps them grounded. Like, they know what it's like to fight and have guys be really aggressive and attack them. So so that really informs their internal martial arts practice. And I think excellent, So, right, so that's, a little bit about them. They've done all these different styles. They've trained under a particular grandmaster that I don't know anything about his lineage. And they sort of just present the history, theory, and some key principles and training ideas for each of these arts. And then they sort of say, what can you do to practice martial arts in general? So they're trying to do this kind of overall everything together type structure, right? And then the last thing that they go on to is something that is not so useful, is that they've come up with their own sort of short combined internal martial arts form that has bits from all over the place. I've got no problems with people doing this, but especially if you're at a high level, and you're like, I want to synthesize all the stuff I've learned. That's how martial arts work, right? They get passed on, they grow, and they change with each generation. But I would say, unless you're learning it from them, then that's not going to be a great point of reference, right? Because you're not going to understand, that short form. So I've never really looked at that section of it. But the rest of the book, I've got bookmarks in it, and I've gone back to it several times. So they talk about a little bit at the start about what different internal martial arts are. Then nice section about 20 or 30 pages on the history of Xing Yi, really well presented there, because that can be a bit squirrely and a bit complicated sometimes. Again, short 20 pages on Tai Chi history. Talk a little bit about how each of these arts train as well, which is really cool. So they talk about, how do they go about it and what's the idea. Then same with Bagua, and then just a little few on each of those other two styles that they've obviously trained in. So then they have a big section which I found sort of useful in parts but not in others, which is they had some basic like how to make a fist, but like all the different like you're going to make this type of fist, and then you're going to make this type of fist, and then you're going to make this type of fist, right? That's a bit Chinesey, right? Like when they're like, you must learn the 42 methods of fist construction, right? Interesting, but not that great. But then the better bits are their sections on footwork and how to step, like different types of steps and stances. I thought that was well presented. And again, not just lots of stills, but actual really good information about what it's like to be in that stance, what are your key points to focus on. Now, brilliant section on basic standing methods, right? So, Zhuangzong or Zhuanggong, right? Pile standing, and they do it in all the different styles. So you've got Santi, the fixed standing in Bagua, and then interestingly and they do the basic embracing the tree style standing. Interestingly, they do a Tai Chi one which I hadn't really seen before, which is standing in step forward in 7 stars, which I always think is a bit of a only appears once in the long form, and sometimes in some short forms. Bit of a random standing posture, if you ask me, but there you go. They thought it was important, so that's their Tai Chi, representative Tai Chi one. I probably would have done just the basic one, or maybe a sort of holding the baby kind of, a yin standing posture, especially if you've got a Santi in there, right, which is quite a yang standing posture. Then they talk about pushing hands and Fa Jing, so good on them. This is how do you train that, and the theory. Again, they don't have tons of pictures and things because, again, it's probably not best to learn it that way. Right. So loads and loads of great information there. And it goes on for quite a long time covering each of those. And the nice thing about it is that it covers each of those from each of the different styles, right? And for each of the different styles, they go in real detail, right? So for example, when they talk about Santi, it's not just like, here's the detail of standing in that posture. They do that, but then they go on and say, and here are the things you need to practice. You need the 6 harmonies, right? And then they spend a good 5 pages covering those in detail. And then it's like, well, if you want some more cues, here's the 8-word song. They do the 8-word song, translated, get to see all the Mandarin nicely laid out, and then they break down each cue and tell you, this you need to focus on this, so the head needs to be there. Like if the chest needs to be yuan, it needs to be rounded, right? So really, really good. Like, excellent. Like, kind of like how I like to teach. Like, you know, when I'm teaching theory, right, alongside the practical movements. So yeah, and they do it for all 3 internal martial arts, plus a little bit in some of those other ones. Good stuff. But then the last, you know, 100 pages is, and it's 100 pages. Like, he doesn't half-ass it by any means, you know. So you get some of this stuff right at the end, right, which is his particular form. But it is, if you do want to learn it, it is better than a lot of other stuff, because again, it is theory led, right, and each movement is explained, understood, what the application is, how it's supposed to feel in the body, all that kind of stuff, you know. So mentally, energetically, physically, and practically. So good. And then at the end, he's got a section on how to, you know, a bit about how to fight. So sort of application training. You know, things about distance, timing, and this was good as well. So how to assess the direction, how to step. And again, there are no pictures here. It's all just the theory, right? About, you know, theory of fighting, you know, timing, application, distancing, all that kind of stuff. Good section at the end there. Only about 20 or 30 pages, but good stuff. Overall, I give this one a massive thumbs up. I think this is a great book. If you're doing any of these arts, Xing Yi, Tai Chi or Bagua, and you're interested in it as a martial art, it's solid recommend for the big blue book, right? Okay, and it's worth the price tag. Yeah, good. I don't know if he's got any more books. I should look him up and check him out, or let me know in the comments. Any other Tai Chi, Xing Yi or Bagua books you want me to review? Let me know. Baji books, I don't think I've even read many, so that'd be good. You know, quite like to get some Baji books and have a read. So, you know, if you think of good ones, do let me know. Good, excellent. Please like, share and subscribe, and best of luck with all your training. See you soon, everyone.